Hi there, everybody. Good morning. It's Monday, and I'm a little bit late getting going again. I mean to get these started at 9. It's 9:08. Ooh, man. I remember 8 minutes was the standard when I worked at the fast food restaurant for too slow. It's got to be there before 8 minutes. That's too long. So I'm sorry. I'm late getting going here, but thanks for showing up. I'm going to take a look here at the live chat. We've got how many viewers? I always have to refresh my page here to see how many viewers we've got. I think that there's a lot of you out there getting back in normal routines. I'm hoping anyway. That's a good thing. We've got 34 at the moment. Looks like. All right. Thanks for being here with me and watching. I'm going to continue the fairy and dragon. I'm going to try to get this picture to what I can call finished for the sake of a good video. Try to get it to finished this morning. So I'll be working on a lot of edges, trying to get clean edges. I went back and watched the last video, the previous video, where I can pay attention, closer attention to all of your comments. And so I like to go back and look at the live chat. And so how's the audio there? I'm getting a suggestion here talking about the audio bit rate. Can you hear me okay? Is everything fine? Let's see here. We've got our mic going there. All right, so edges. Edges is what I focus on to get a painting finished. You know, you can get away with all kinds of imperfections and details if your important edges and outlines of the shapes that you want to be your focal point are fine-tuned. And so good audio. Okay, thanks. I just had to check. I'm still learning how to run all the multiple pages in software. I was meant for art, not technical stuff. Okay, good. Thanks for telling me. I can hear you in England, says Aaron Mason. All right, cool. Tuning in from England. Awesome. So, things are good. How are you, Joe? I'm good. I'm doing really good. Thanks for asking, Susan. Soggy, Tulsa, Oklahoma. Is it raining there in Tulsa, Oklahoma? I think I would love to borrow some of your rain there if it is. We have very dry weather here in Arizona. I always am battling dry time because of that. So, here's what we're going to be working on today. I've got the camera. Let me switch the view here. Okay, thank you from Canada. Sounds good in Canada, says Nicole Roy. Cool. So let's switch the camera view. This is what we've got so far. We've got the fairy developed, and like I said, I was reading through the live chat on the previous video, and I saw that the blue hair is not popular, and I don't think it looks that great either, but I had to try it. So I'm going to revert back to dark colored hair, but you know what I have to try now? I'm going to try some, a lot of people suggested, or a few people suggested red. I think that's a cool idea. Let's try some red mixed with black, because I think the dark looks good. Don't you think the dark looks good? So that's going to be my next project, is getting a hairstyle that I like on this fairy character. So let me zoom in on here. I want to make sure that everybody can see just fine. We're going to go in, and we're going to be working on this. You know, this makes, once you put a person in a painting, you can't make it about anything else. You know, having a person in the picture dominates the mood. So I have to make sure that, or I should say having a face, because it could be that, you know, for the sake of the artistry, we could say that, hold on, I'm switching the cameras here. For the sake of the creativity of the piece, a person could be any character. It could be the dragon, you know, but when you've got a face, eyes, expression, anything that we can interpret emotion from, that becomes, in my opinion, the focal point of the picture, because we're just too programmed to think that way. It's like when you're in an empty room and then a person walks in, the presence is way too strong to pretend like that person is not there. You know, it's the difference between person and no person, company, it's just an extreme difference as far as I can tell. And so in a painting, what I've really enjoyed about learning recently to do people, because this is a relatively recent study for me trying to improve in my abilities to do people, is how it becomes what the painting is about, is what is that person feeling, what are they experiencing, and then I kind of live vicariously through whatever that character is experiencing. Two Blue Fairy. Yeah, we're gonna make the hair black and red, maybe a little yellow, maybe like black and red, orange, we'll see. Restore the damaged background. Yes, I need to do that for sure. Good morning from Holland, California. Thank you very much for the compliment, Kathy. I appreciate that encouragement. There's emotion in the dragon. Yeah, there is. There totally is. You know, a face. Anywhere there's a relatable face, you can find emotion in that. Or let's just say even a body, because we do also interpret emotion in body position. You know, the difference between this emotion and this emotion, it's different. You know, I've noticed when I draw figures, hand position is a huge emotional influence. Happy Memorial Day. Oh yes, I feel obligated to mention that I was reminded by friends, family that have people in military right now. This is Memorial Day weekend. This is Monday now, but any of you out there that are serving or have family, man, I just want to say thank you. I have realized, as I'm now 40 years old, I've realized I have enjoyed such a peaceful life that has been afforded by a lot of sacrificing before I ever got here. And people are still currently making those sacrifices, laying down their own freedoms so that many others here can enjoy a very free way of life here where I live. And I am thankful for that. What's the dragon's motivation? I don't know. We got to figure that out. What is the fairy feeling? I don't know. You know, I'm just going to mess with the expression until it just seems like there's a relationship going there. My initial thought, okay, if I'm being honest, I was thinking at the beginning, you know, that there's a relationship of empathy. The fairy empathizes with the dragon. Maybe that's why the hand is on it. And because I like the contrast of the big and the powerful admiring the small and the beautiful, and vice versa too. I think that's just a neat relationship that we see in nature and life, so it's fun to try to capture in a painting. But I don't know if I'm going to have success at capturing that as just a concept for inspiration. Sly says, God bless our veterans and servicemen and women. Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Okay, now let's go over here and process the other one. I'm going to read this last little comment here. Good morning, Carol. You squeezed that in right at the last second when I was going to switch screens. So glad to be back in your studio. Thank you. My makeshift studio in the spare room of my house. Your process, your thoughts mixed with the thoughts of 50 people, more or less. Is that what's watching now? Man, the feedback's awesome. It's great. Learning to work in front of a crowd has been a great thing for me. Just kidding about dragon motivation. Oh, it's not a bad thing to think about. It's fun. You know, we don't have to be so serious about it, but it is fun to try to think of that stuff. Okay, now I'm going to switch over to our camera that's looking at the painting, and what I have here is actually before I do this, I'll stay at this view for a moment so that you can see. I'm pretty excited about this trick right here. I'm going to take this clip and squeeze that board right onto there, because this is going to be my mixing palette, so that I don't have to destroy any more of my painting. As I get further and further on a painting, I do need something else to mix colors on. So I just go straight to the canvas near the beginning. But now that I'm this far, I don't want to just, destroy all the colors I've got in the background. And so I'm going to put some of my acrylics in tubes. Excuse me while I just take a few drinks of my coffee. I was running late, I didn't get a chance to finish it. I'm just trying to get my mind thinking straight. I'm going to put some paint on that board. And so I'm going to use orange. I want orange in there. And I want some black, so we'll put a little bit on there. I have noticed that these tubes, they do not dry as quickly as the cans of paints that I like to use. And so I don't know exactly what the reason is for that, but I know that when I'm doing these smaller details, it is convenient to have paint that dries a little bit slower. Black. We got plenty of black. I noticed as I was working with this last time that black is like a 5-to-1 potency compared to the other paints. This is like just estimating 5 times the potency on pigment there. And now I'm going to put some red. I don't have a lot of colors in these tubes. I basically just have red, orange, yellow, green, blue, violet, black, and white. Actually, I'm pretty sure that's exactly what I have. Let's go like this, put some red on there. And I'm squeezing cautiously this time. I opened up these tubes last time, and I just went, my reckless self just squeezed them on there, went down on the wall. I've got this big yellow and black smear down there. Luckily, I know how to paint, so we'll get that. I've been painting the exterior of my house lately as well, trying to get it. We moved into somewhat of a fixer-upper. I'd be embarrassed to show you the outside of my house. You would not want to know what kind of a paint job I'm living inside of. But I'm working on it. It's getting better. Okay, now my last color, I'm putting white on, and then I'm going to switch to the other camera and work on the details of this fairy some more. And so I think one of the things I'm going to do as well is experiment with a slight adjustment. I would like to see a little bit darker skin tone on the fairy. I meant to have a slightly darker skin tone just because that was my vision. I was just thinking, I think it'd be cool for the picture if there was some kind of a darker color. It just seems like it'd go well with the scene. And it came out kind of light. So it looks like my skin tone. It looks like my same color. So I'm going to do that, and I'll show my method, and I showed that in the last time. But it's not much, because it's not much work. I don't have a whole lot of, what's the word that I'm looking for? I don't have a whole lot of details in there that are going to be hard to reproduce. It's just a matter of how much white I add to the mix when I'm doing skin tone. Okay, so I need some more exciting hair. Let's do that. Let's switch the camera here. And we'll take, before I get started, this is going to be a somewhat of an extensive detail process doing hair and body on this. This will be the hardest part of the painting. So one last time before I get going, I'm just going to take a look at the chat, just see if there's any new people showing up at the moment that want some questions answered. Hola, says Mary Sue. Hello, hello. And we've got Fernand Cetron. I don't know how to say the name. Thanks for being here. Fuel up, Joe. Yes, the coffee. I'm going to take one little bit more. I'm sorry that I didn't have that completed before I started. I am running a little late. Fix her knee, please. Okay. We'll fix the knee. More high. Well, I can't do that. I got to keep it down low, but I know what you mean. Right now, the stage is set for just a flat view, but I'm trying to tip the fairy this way. So I'm going to have that knee lower, but I need to make everything tell the same story, something I talk about a lot. So there's a conflict of views at the moment that I need to try to resolve. Working with Grumbacher, that's right. I am Grumbacher, and I don't think it's like their highest end paint. It's Grumbacher, they call them academic. Mars Black, acrylic, and it has a big A on it. It says Academy. So it's one of the less expensive lines of paint from Grumbacher, but I inherited a whole bunch of Grumbacher tubes of oils that were very old. My great grandmother, Hazel Brunner, was a painter, and I inherited this box of oil paints, and I loved the way the pigments compared to others. And so I just looked into getting some Grumbacher paints when I was on the hunt for a really good bright phthalo blue that would have that bright turquoise pop to it, like this, when I added white. And so I tried some other brands when I was in an art studio over at the university. I couldn't find anything that had that same brightness Grumbacher did. So now I use it. That's how it happens. It's 9. Am there? You need coffee? Yes, I need coffee. Hi from Bismarck. All right, that's the first time I've seen Bismarck on the live chat. Thanks for telling me, and I'm glad you're watching. My paints dry too fast, says Sly. Yes, mine do too, but this is a constant honing of a skill, is getting to the desired color fast. This is why I value understanding so much, because the faster I get to my desired color, the faster I know exactly what I'm going to do once I get to that color. It's true when you're first starting, until you get familiar enough, it's drying too fast. It's quite a battle. But there are things you can do. There are additives that slow down the dry time. You can work in a cold place. If you work in the cold, it's not so fun, but it does significantly slow down the dry time. Thank you, Grandma. Yeah, for sure. Greetings from Honduras. You are my inspiration. Thank you so much, Emilio. I appreciate that encouragement. Okay, I'm going to switch over now, and we're going to get painting here. So we've got our close-up view. I'm gonna cut over to camera 2. We've got this stare from the dragon. I'm liking this. When I sleep and then I come back and look at this, there are parts that look better. There are parts that look worse, but a fresh mind is always very valuable. Okay, I'm grabbing my brush. I got my brushes laying down here on the floor. This is the kind of brush I'll be using. I always like to use a brush with an angle on it, and so that lets me do real skinny lines this way, like if I want to work on that hair, and broader strokes this way. So now I'm going to start by just swishing it in the water, and I just realized I've got the water bucket right in front of that microphone. I bet we would get a little better audio if I didn't block that. Sorry if there's a lot of obnoxious noise right here. I'm going to see if I can not block the view of the audio for a moment. Okay, now I'm thinking that I'll start with the hair. I want to start with the hair. I'm coming into this cold. I haven't touched a pencil or a paintbrush all morning. Most of the time I've spent the morning sketching, drawing, working on ideas. Not the case this morning. So a lot of times I just need something to look at. And I think the idea of red in the hair, maybe not all red hair, but I think the idea of red in the hair sounds fun. So I'm going to see what I can do here. Let's put some brighter orange spots in there for little highlights. I'm going to take black and make some spikes that go like this. So let's just say that there's these big spiky things coming off the hair, like Sonic the Hedgehog. I think that'll be fun. Red and black, it's always a great combo. It's good, real striking Man, you know what I love? You know what I think is just the coolest hair dye combo? If you're into dyeing your hair, doing bright colors, I used to be way into that when I was in high school. I'd always try different things. Then I realized, you know what? I don't really look any better when I color my hair. I'm just gonna stick with natural. But man, I love pink and black. Pink and black hair. When somebody does that, I saw a girl with pink and black dreads. I was like, now that is a cool hairstyle. Loved it. Okay, I'm gonna go like this and put little points coming off. So as I want them to come toward me, they're going to be more like little stars, you know, little bits of black that fade into this red color. I'm going to go this direction now, and this is going to be a little bit detail intensive. I think I'm going to make lines going this way. So here's the general rule. I'll tell you a trick with hair. You can get the look of hair that has like reflection on it if you make lines from, we're going to zoom in more, I'm too far. You can't even see what I'm doing. Here, let's go here. We got to go way up in here so you can see what I'm working on. As a general rule, you know, you can get the look of light coming across hair. You can get like the reflective look. If you remember to make lines from, here's my little rhyme. You make lines from where it's growing, okay? Lines from where it's growing right here. And then lines from where it's going, like this, pointing right to that second set of lines, the light that's left in the middle. And so this is a trick I use in drawing all the time, is your reflection that's left in there. So lines from where it's growing, lines from where it's going, lines from where it's going, lines from where it's growing. And so both of those are shadows. And so when hair is in a clump all going a common direction, then we have some point that all of those little hairs have in common, you know, some part of that line. But it's not so simple with paint. You know, I'm using a lot more than just the gray and the white of a pencil, so I have to try to be strategic about where my lighter and darker colors are in order to make these visible. So I want this to look like there are some spikes in this hair. So I'm going to use red, orange, and white. I'm mixing this color. Here, let's move this up so you can see my palette too. Sorry, I need to get on the ball here. Let's go like this. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to move it closer so that you can see. Let's just go like this. There's my colors that I'm mixing from. I'm going to mix some highlight and put it right in here, right across the middle. And as I get brighter, I'm adding a little bit of orange because that's what gives me the effect of translucency, and I want that in hair. So that little highlight on that spike, I made more orange than the red. So I'm going to put red right here across the middle, and I'm going to put some more orange highlight in the middle of that. So let's add a little orange and white to the mix and go like this. Now we've got a few little highlights there, maybe one right here. There's a spike. And so this is going to be a tricky process to try to get all of these little spikes visible, but I'm going to do my best. I'm really going to try. I'm going to put little dark ends on each of these. So I've got kind of a spike in here. Let's put some brighter color right here so we can see this one stop. And we'll use the darker redder color. Make these going down into a shadow. And then I'm going to put some black right here. Let's put a spike going straight out toward me. The way I do that is with a little star shape. Like this, and then maybe a little bit of a black outline to it.
And then we'll separate this one. I'll put this one coming back a little bit further, like this. And then I've just got to make the tiniest little gradients that separate those two spikes, because right now it's just kind of a muddy blob. It's hard to separate those details. But you can't underestimate, you don't want to underestimate the power of a gradient that is very small. Even very small gradients that are accurately put in place are a very powerful thing. So paying attention to where those edges are and taking the time to put those little details in just the right spot, it can really create the shape. The shape can be crystal clear and really pop out if you just take the time to really put it in the right place, even though it's tiny. So I'm putting red, and then I'm putting orange on top of it. We want to get a lighter highlight color right here, and I'm going to kind of round this little spike right here. Make this one going around a little bit. And I'm just watching the direction of these lines. There's a little too much black on it to get that color to pop out much at the moment, so maybe I'll let it dry for a little bit. Now I need a little more color behind this, so I'm just strategically putting color just enough that I can see my little black spike right there. And then I'm going to put red wherever I want to separate these shapes. I'm going to use my red. And so what I'm trying to build here is a relationship of light and shadow where the red is the light color. And red is a dark color, so it's a hard thing. It's a tricky thing to get that to work, to still make a real visible relationship of light and shadow. That doesn't make it less possible. It just means it takes some significant effort to really get it there. So I'm just putting little highlights in between these spikes. I'm going to put a little bit of light color right here in between these two and that one that's up on top right there. I'm going to put some more color back here. Let's put another spike on like that, and put some black coming off the end of it. There we go. I like that. That paint went on real heavy. It's kind of a fun hairstyle for a dragon taming fairy. All right, I feel like there's one right in here, so I'm going to put that in place. Let's put the black right here where this one is, going right across there. Then I'll put more wherever I see these little spikes. I just want to put black on the tip. And that's just strategic, putting black on the tip to get as much contrast as possible so that I can really see the shapes. But, by fading them into that red base, I feel like I get a more three-dimensional look to it. Okay, now I'm going to put some coming down this way. I've got to get rid of the blue. So let me put red back here behind this ear. Let's go down like this, and let's put some brighter orange in some spots. This orange is a real weak color, not very strong on the pigment, so I have to think about my workflow. Am I going to go from this to a black, or should I go black first? It's not wise to go black first if you don't have real strong pigments to match it. So I'm going to put my weakest pigments first so that I can just use whatever amount of black is necessary to get the details that I'm after. So we've got red here, and now I'm going to put some black going down. So let's make some more of these little spikies going like this. I'm not going to put them on the orange areas, but maybe where I have the red. So let's put some there. Put a little spike there. Put a little spike here. There. And then I'm just doing enough strokes to kind of blend that into that into that color that I put. Now I like the hairstyle. Let's put black right in here behind this ear. I want to see a little more shadow down behind this ear, like that. So I guess you would have, you know, maybe this hairline would come down here and stop. So let's stop it right there, and then maybe put more of this skin tone in place. Yeah, let me grab some of this. I want to put one more, maybe put one coming across the ear. How about like that? All right. Now I'm going to go in here and start messing with the skin tone. So I'm going to put orange, red, and so real similar to the hair, you know, but I'm just going to go lighter on the red. So I want the hair to look real red, but I don't want the skin to look that red, because real red skin is just going to look like a white person in a shadow. You know, we want to see less of the red color showing through the skin if it has more pigment in it. So let's add a little bit of white to this highlight on top of the arm. I'm going to use orange. It's always the same three colors. I'm using the red, the orange, well, black and white. So I guess that's 4 colors. Okay, let's put some color on top of this arm. Put a little bit of white right here. And then I'll put more white right here for the shoulder. I really took some time to try to get these muscles in the right place when I was building this image. Okay, so there's my light color, and it's going to dry darker, so I'm a little bit darker than what I was. So now I'm going to put more color, orange, red, put it on the underside of the arm. That's a lot of red. The red is definitely more powerful pigment than the orange, so we'll go heavier on the orange. Then hopefully when I add the black, that's going to take it down to the shade of brown, light brown that I'm after. So let's go a little bit darker. A little bit darker on that color. There's my shadow color. We're going to go up across the shoulder just a little bit. Then we've got the tricep going across here. I'm going to try to blend the... I kept the black down here where the color is, so that when I get in here, I'm working with a mid-tone. See how this is more colorful? So I really tried to keep my black off of that very middle area, because I need the color in between the light and the shadow. I've got to have the mid-tone. If I don't have that, then the highlight mixes with the black and creates a gray tone that does not look like skin. It looks like something that does not have blood in it. You get the dead look, you know. Okay, so now I'm going to go over here, do the same thing on the forearm. Orange, red underneath. It's got to get more red as it goes into the shadow, and lighter, more orange as it goes into the lighter parts of the arm. We're going to go over here, and I've got to do the hand. Look, this is incomplete without that hand. Just now realized that. That'd be a bummer to find that out far down the road, thinking the painting was done. Oh, I never painted her hand. Okay, let's put black under here. Lots of shadow. I'm going to put a little water in my brush. When you're working real thin like this, it dries super fast. So this is drying in seconds after I put it on, so I've got a real short time to get it to blend. See right there, I meant for that black to blend, but the color above it is not wet enough to blend. So I've got to come back and put it on again. Orange, red. Let's put more orange, more red. I think getting over the fear of of too much paint is very important when doing this process. You've got to just put paint on. You've got to have paint on there to move around. Get it on first, mess with the color after it's on there, but you've got to have a good amount of paint to smear around. And as you do that, I feel like I've gotten faster at manipulating it just by getting over the fear of having lots of paint. Okay, now I'm going to make a set of muscles that goes across the arm. There's one here, goes across the top of the elbow. Then there's some more muscles that come down here to the elbow and go up across the wrist like that. And then we've got a little bit of that I'm going to take that same highlight and go across the tricep right here. Let's get a little more of this lighter color, go right across this tricep right there, and then go over to the shoulder. I'm just trying to get a little bit more consistent coloring from shoulder to the rest of the arm. I had it a little bit different, had it a little off before. So now, since this is my final pass on this, this is where I want to try to make it more consistent. I'm adding a little bit of red to that shadow because it's definitely on the black side. I'm going to go up like this and make the tricep a little more cut. Like that. Then we can get a little bit of skin color, grab that orange and red and put the arm under that tricep shadow going across. She works out. Okay. Now I'm thinking that I need to put a hand. So the hands, wow, this is gonna be something. Sorry, I kicked the camera. Let's go over here and put a hand right here on that big messy nose. Right now it looks like she's doing an art project. She's got her hands in the paint. She's painting a dragon. Okay. So I just want like a nice, gentle looking touch. You know, like you might touch the nose of a big horse. So let's put the skin color in place. And if you ever wondered how to get the length of an arm, I mentioned this in the video earlier, but you know, once I've drawn armpit to waist to hip, I've already drawn the arm. I've already painted the arm, because from armpit to waist is from armpit to elbow. It's the same. Elbow to wrist comes down to the hip, and there's this perfect system of how the arm passes through the body. The wide parts of the arm are across from the narrow parts of the body. It fits like a puzzle. You can go look in the mirror and see that's what makes walking and running such a convenient and enjoyable experience. Okay, now we're going to go like this. Of course, someone out there is hearing me say convenient and enjoyable and thinking, I don't know how you get that out of running. Okay, I'm putting little fingers, you know, just to start. I just need to give myself something to look at. So now I'm going to put a little bit of black going under this. Now what I want is, you know, this is a little bit on the long side from elbow to wrist, because I want to be able to see this relationship. You know, I'm going to try to get on camera here. If I bend my arm, my fist comes right up to my shoulder. So if you can see my shoulder right there, so I'm just bending at the elbow. My knuckles come right up to the shoulder. So I can use that as a height reference. If I just imagine, okay, if she makes a fist, is this the same? So I'm always looking for these patterns on form. So right now this is a little long because it's not going to make that. So I might want to shorten this a little bit to get a more lifelike proportion. Not that that has to happen, but it's a tool for me to use if I want to make a lifelike proportion on this. So I'm going to put some shadow a little bit shorter on there. And now I'm going to go back to my lighter skin tone and start putting the back of the hand on top of that shadow color. let's dry the brush. There's some water in there that's kind of squishing the paint out of the way. Doesn't cover as well. Okay, so now we've got our highlight color on top of the shadow. And what I'm going to do is, it doesn't really need much. I'm hardly going to see any fingers, but I'm going to start with some highlights. Just some real little highlights going right across the top. Now, it always seems like, you know, when you do small details, it always feels so tedious. It's like, oh my gosh, this doesn't make any difference at all. You know, these details are not going to translate to anything that you can see, but they do. I could make this 1/10 of this size and we would still be able to see a hand and fingers. No, I said that wrong. I might not have the ability to do that, but eyes can see it. So I don't want to underestimate the importance of the small details on a body part, because eyes will pick it up much more easily than I can paint it. It might feel super tedious to paint, but to see individual fingers on that might be a very good addition to this painting. It's not that the whole painting has to be that detailed, it's that I'm doing a person. And there is a much higher requirement for attention to parts if you're doing a person. Okay, so I've got 3 very tiny little stripes, hopefully to resemble fingers, and I'm going to put the little muscle under the pinky. We've got kind of a little more meat on the hand right there. So I'm going to take some red, tiny bit of black, get a darker brown color, maybe some orange too, so it's not just dark red but dark brown. I'm going to bring this color down here and hopefully see that bump out, be a little bigger than the wrist. So the wrist, you can see on, you know, if I put my hand here, you can see that this is the muscle I'm trying to do, and I want that to be visibly, see how it kind of drops down and there's a shadow. So I feel like if I get just a little bit of that right in there, then it'll be a good effect to have in this picture. This is one subject matter where I feel like it's worth sweating the small stuff. But it probably makes for a slightly more boring video. I think this is going to be good for me to have this, though. This will be a good reference for questions that I have never taken the time to address. You know, that just really take some time paying attention to details. So this is the thumb, and the thumb comes down to the second knuckle on a hand. So if I have that marked, then I can know right away how long I want to make that thumb. Now I'll grab a little bit of white for my highlight, the white and the orange. And I'll go over here and go tiny little line here. This is why I like these brushes. Look, I just put that point on there and zoop, drag it backwards down here. Close it together right there for the back of the hand. All right, now we're going to put the ends of the fingers. We're almost done. We're almost to a level that feels good enough for this picture. Put another finger right there. I'm going to go a little bit longer on these fingers. There's only 3 of them. There's only 3 fingers on there, so I suppose I should probably think about adding a 4th because it's going to drive me crazy. So let's just put a pinky right here, a little pinky finger right next to the others. Very close, like that. And then I'm going to grab a little bit more of my darker shadow colors. Oh yeah, you can see that. Okay. Here, let's see what this camera is capable of, huh? You want to? You're going to see all the little shakes in the camera if I do this, but here, let's go like this. There we go. So now you can see Now you can see very up close how much this does not look like a hand. All right, I'm going to put a shadow right here. And I might need to have just a little bit of water on my brush, a little bit of moisture to get that in there. Like I said, this is the only part of a painting that I would bother with this, is where there's something that has to do with a human. You know, it's detail this small can just be imagined on other parts of the picture, but because there's such relatability in hand positioning on a person, this is where I want to pay attention and make this. It's going to get looked at. It's going to get seen, so I want to pay attention to how I do it. What are her hands doing? Okay. Now I'm just trying to blend that highlight into the shadow a tiny bit so it doesn't look just like hard lines, but probably just that level of detail will be sufficient for the moment. I can, you know, maybe a good thing to do is let it dry and then come back with real tiny touches of details. You know, I don't have to do it all wet on wet. Putting a shadow under that hand now, just right under here, going up under this pinky like this. And that slight bend of the fingers I think is important. I want to see that. So now we can kind of visualize the hand bending over the dragon's nose a little bit. I'm going to bend those knuckles too. There are knuckles that bend. See these knuckles on my hand? These bend more than the other knuckles. And that is a valuable thing to include with hand positioning. So watch, I'll bend those knuckles a little more. And you wouldn't think that a detail this ridiculously small on a painting this size would matter. But it's the difference between a hand that looks natural and a hand that looks very painted. So I'm going to chop off the highlights a little bit and then come back in with my colors to build those highlights out. So I'm putting more color in here now, just a little more bent. Here's brown. And I'm going to go this way. I'm going to go this way. Now I'm going to put the highlight in there. So we've got orange and white to get the highlight across. So I'm going to bend this finger a little more this way now. Right there. Bend this one a little more. Bend this one a little more. There. Do you see that bend on the fingers? Looks much more natural. So the only thing that I'm dissatisfied with on that is that I put them a little bit long. The bend is kind of long because I've got the thumb going here. The thumb needs to come down. It needs to come as far as that knuckle. The thumb needs to go way up here, and I'm not sure if that's going to be too long, but it's got to be that length in order to look like a normal hand. Okay, so I think I can use this now. I'll go with that hand. So we've got gray on the nose of the dragon. I'm just going to put some gray in and use these colors now to look at this. Now let me zoom out. Look how tiny this is. Zooming out, zooming out, zooming out. Zooming out further. That's what I've been painting right there. Tiny little thing. Oh man. But look at that nice color on the arm. I love that darker color. I'm really gonna be happier. I like colorful skin. Okay, so let's go like this, come back in here. Maybe this is a better distance now. I'm gonna put the gray. I need to refine the nose of the dragon a little bit. Okay, that might go down in history as one of my most tedious videos so far. I'm glad you were here for the experience. Let's see how many viewers I lost. We're up to, let me refresh I'm refreshing the page. For some reason I got to do that. Okay.
Any comments? Oh, 91. Hey, did it go up or down while I was doing those tiny details? Curious. All right, thanks for watching, all 91 of you. I'm very, very happy to have you here. Bit of sparkle near the hand would be magic. I think that's a good idea, a little bit, but I don't quite know how I want to achieve that yet. So I'm going to be thinking about it to try to think of a good method so I'm not just toying around with things. Okay. 91. All right. Thank you very much. Super Angry Koala. I love that username. I cannot imagine a koala being super angry. All right, so I'm going to go back and start cleaning up the nose of the dragon. I like the idea of some kind of a magical touch to it. Do you see? Has anyone noticed I'm wearing my shirt inside out? I like inside out shirts. For one thing, I actually like the way seams look. I think the way they go with the natural form. I think everybody should just wear shirts inside out. The seams don't bother your skin because they're on the outside. They go with the form of your body, which I think is a good look. But if I get paint on it, I just turn it the right way when I'm like going to some nice place. So no big deal if I splatter some paint on the inside of my shirt. 2 uses out of 1 shirt. You know, my work shirts are the inside out versions of my nice shirts. Are you painting for a client? Says Melanie Culver. No client, just you. This is it. All 91 of you watching now, this is the reason I'm painting, is just to hang out, have some fun. Yes, noticed your shirt. Oh, you did. All right, good. I do that with my socks. Hey, that's very good. And the seams can be very annoying on socks. They bother your toes sometimes. You could make a clothing line. Maybe, let's see, if one day I'm famous or have enough influence, maybe a clothing line. Okay, now let's put yes, I was going to do the nose. I'm going to switch over and, oh, you're looking at my ear right there. Sorry, I hope I cleaned them. Okay. Now, we've got the fair. I like that hairstyle so much more. I really like that. I might toy with a little bit more length on it, mess with the shape, but I like that so much better than the blue. So, right here we need a grayish color on the nose. So we've got black and white right here with our acrylics. And so these colors, let me get them on camera. We're right here. And I can put some black and white around this nose. Now, there's a lot of expression in the nose. Huge part of facial expression is what the nose is doing. These wrinkles that go across, these form how much of a snarl is on this face, how much of a snarl is being applied to these nostrils. So I can make it more or less with these light and shadow colors that I'm putting on right now. And I'm thinking that I want to keep that snarled look because I like the contrast. It's really not because I have much of a story developed in my mind. I just think that it's story inspiring to have that difference. Now it kind of switches from a red to a black. So like I said, I focus on edges. Here's an edge. I'm going to get that edge to look nice. I'm not going to worry too much about how it looks down in here on the face, on this area inside of the edges, but wherever I have an edge defining a shape, that's where I'm really going to focus my efforts. So I'm putting that dark red, gray color and putting black and white right here on this edge to define it. So should I go lighter or darker than the background? I think darker looks good. All I know is that I want it to show up, so I have to make a decision. And something that you can lose a lot of times with photographs, I always admire a good photographer because I really think it takes a lot of knowledge and skill to get a great photograph. And
you can't just manually change the edges. You have to use the cards you're dealt, with the photograph. But with painting, I can come in and strategically make an edge darker or lighter than what I want it to stand apart from. Sometimes I even cheat a little bit and I'll make a gradient where I'll make the edge a little darker where it's in front of a light color, a little lighter where it's in front of a darker color, just so that I can have it be visible when maybe it would not naturally appear that way, but I'm just using an artistic license to get something to show up. I'll leave it a little bit darker here. Look, see that little bit of dark that's below the hand? Creates a natural shadow on there. And so let's go up here and put this, I like this shape that comes down from this eye. I really want to bring this down. To me, this adds a lot of expression here, going right down this nose. So I really want that to show up. And I'm going to put some white on there, but I'm going to flip-flop it. So here it's lighter than the background because we've got that dark wing there, so I'll leave that lighter. But then maybe when I get down here, I'll flip-flop so it's darker. So this is what I'm talking about, a gradient. Now it's going to get darker to be darker than the background. And I'm doing that just so that we can see it, just because I want that shape to be seen. So that goes down there across the nose, and then I can put some orange in here to kind of repair this nose a little bit where it got all messy with my brush strokes. We've got red in here. I'm just gonna blend those colors together and see what happens. We've got like a fiery explosion happening inside of this guy's brain. And so this would be fun. I'm going to do this. I'm going to put some bright color coming across this face. I'm going to put some bright color going across where it fades into that. Okay, wait, let's try. This is an experiment. I think it's going to be cool. You can let me know if it's not cool at all. So I'll put some pure white. I'm going to need some blue. I'm going to stay in my acrylics. I'm going to stay in my tube acrylics. We'll put phthalo blue right here. I'm going to use that to add some color. That's way more than I need, but it'll dry slower if I have a big clump of it there. And I'm going to use some violet. Theo violet, or magenta, I think is a better word for it. I think companies just want to have their clever names to sell their colors. So you stay away from something as boring as red or magenta. Theo violet it's called. So now I'm going to put pure white right here, and it's coming out from this hand like this. Let's put pure white, and I want some bright glowing color. So actually, why don't we use blue? I want a light blue, and then I'm going to put the white in the middle of it. And I'm going to make it come over and meet up with these. So what's important here, if I want the effect of this having the same, I want it to be similar to these veins of red light on this guy's face. I need to make it go along the form of my dragon here. So we're going to go white and blue up here. Let's get a white and blue mix. This might be easier if I just put a little bit of white and blue so that I get a nice bright, there's like a, I think, once you get to 50% white and blue, something like that, you've still got a real nice vivid blue, but the more white you add, the less color you have, of course. So I want to get right to that ideal balance between color and brightness. And I'm going to put this blue color starring out and maybe finding the crevices between wrinkles so that I've got a real believable flow on these. And it's going to come over here and meet the red ones. Let's make it meet up with those red ones. The idea here, I'm thinking that we put these bright colors coming together. So this dragon has this red angry color inside. I'm not trying I'm not trying to sound overly deep or anything. I just think it's a cool look, you know. And like he's experiencing this soft touch of this face. Oh man, I feel so silly right now doing this. Okay, let's go over the nostril. It is fun though, if we're being honest. I always was kind of a sensitive guy. I've learned to embrace it. Okay, so we're making this this dragon. He's having a spiritual experience right now with this fairy. Let's go down here. We're really going to see that glow effect where this hits the shadows, you know. So we'll make it coming down here, and I'll have good perspective if I'm careful to make these lines real scrunched along the edge. So if I really go this way, then I get good perspective with those lines. And then if I really zigzag lines a lot as they come out toward me, you know, it's just like doing a little river flowing across a landscape. You zigzag it as it comes toward you. So I need to remember that kind of perspective as I'm putting these spots, you know, coming down and toward me on this guy as well. So we'll go down here, go in between some of these scales, maybe up and over this big fang right here, like that. Just following the natural form that I created. We'll go over here and then we'll meet up with this red right here. Okay, I don't want to spend the whole time on this, but I want to get enough in there that I'm really going to have the effect that I'm after. Let's put blue in there. And let's put some more going right up here. So the next step is to put a real bright white in between that. So here I'll put blue in this shadow like that. We'll put some going this way. Now so far this is an interesting color and everything, but it doesn't look as much like light because it doesn't quite have the brightness that I want it to have. So I'm going to put brightness in it now. That's the next step, is to make it bright enough. So we're going to connect a few more of these until I just see enough that I'm satisfied with the effect. Okay, we've got lots of blue right there. Let's go a little more right here. Maybe right down into that nostril, like that. Helps if you make noises with your brush strokes. Feel the sound that the movement makes. Okay, now white. Okay, we're going to use bright white, and a little bit of blue is going to mix with it. So I'm putting the really bright blue up here, and then I'm going to go in here and make sure that I touch all of these areas and leave some of the blue showing. So there's just a little bit of blue now that's going to be around the outside of my area. So I'm kind of doing a trick where I make the white look bluer by leaving an outline of blue around it. So this is kind of a detail thing, but the effect is going to be good, I think. So nice bright white color right in the middle of wherever I have the blue, so that it leaves a blue outline. And then it's going to look like it's glowing, because when something glows, especially when something's glowing on camera, when we don't have the contrast available to lighten the color of the glow, of the brightest part of the light. You know, take a picture of a bright colored light. You get a white center from overexposure because there is no color that's light enough. And then you'll see the glowing color around it. The color makes a halo around it. So if I mimic that effect, I can make this look like it has that real bright exposure, and it perhaps causes us to imagine color where there's not color. When we have the white in the middle of the blue, but the blue is surrounding it still. So I'm getting pure white. I've got enough blue in my brush that it's still mixing a little with that white. And I'm just putting that pure white wherever I've got enough blue to squeeze a little bit of white in the middle of it. Right here's some, kind of like lightning. You know, it's like painting lightning. I'm going to put it there, and I'll put some going up here like this. Make some going right up this. So this was just a dark blue stripe, but with that little bit of white, I can get the effect of a glow, adding a glow effect to it. Have you ever noticed that I say things multiple ways right in a row as if it wasn't understandable? This is a habit. This is one of my quirks. I say, I'm putting the white to get the glow effect. I'm getting the glow effect by putting the white. Oh man, I annoy myself. Okay, let's put this here in this little spot using tiny little lines. But, you know, this is also a strategy to further define my shape. Look at that, how it makes the shape pop out. That's kind of fun. Lines are a powerful thing, super powerful visually, you know, so you can force the perspective of something. You know, maybe it doesn't really have, maybe you don't really see a specific direction or shape to an object just with the color that you've got on it. But if you start putting lines curving around this shape, it's like, oh, this neck. The neck of the dragon is a great example of forced, what I think should be called forced perspective. Because of the curves of those blue lines, we have that neck going back much more so than if I didn't have those lines on it. Okay, now I'm going to do this. Now it's time for that Theo Violet. I want to mimic what light would do and not what paint would do. So when blue and red paint mix, we get a very gray violet, but I need light. So, you know, like when your computer mixes the blue and red, it gets this color. We want this one in here. So in between the blue and the red, we're going to have this. And this is where I think it's going to top it off, is this transition from the blue to that purple as it finds its way toward this red. So we're going to go Theo Violet right in here like this as it goes over toward these red spots. And let's put lots of white, and I can mix that with the blue. So here's my light blue. I'll mix it in there because that will mix, that Theo Violet will mix with the blue and get a nice bright purple where the red will not. Let's put that color right here maybe, and I'm thinking that we could probably go right across here. Let's make this go across. Right there, maybe between those scales. To me, this is a kind of a therapeutic, fun process because I love lines and shapes so much. This is just having fun outlining the shapes that are already on this that I enjoy. So you just find those shapes and outline them. And to me, that's fun. It's a good way to pass the time. Kind of like when you doodle on your homework at school, just drawing shapes. Or was I the only one that did that instead of the work? That was my process for coping with school. When I was younger, it always got returned to the teacher. It did get returned to the teacher a lot of the time, but with lots of artwork on it, and not always with all of the work completed. Okay, let's go like this, put some bright spots in there. So now it's more purple, and then that purple will make way for the red. I'm going to put a little more of it in here. Let's put a lot of purple right around that white spot. Here's a big white spot. Let's go like this. Lots of that color. I love this. Man, this color is like magic to me. But the combination, it's always the combination that makes the big difference. You know, I have favorite colors and everything, but favorite colors are nothing when they're not next to all the other colors. You know, I just think it's awesome to look at colors bouncing off of each other. I think one of the keys to really honing skills with something is to fall in love with it. And really, you know, this is something, for me, this is such an enjoyable process of putting color on. It's like a, you know, it's like a very pleasant massage for my brain when I'm watching these colors go together. I mean, I just can't get enough. I go outside, I look at the sun shining through the leaves. I see the light and the shadow bouncing off the rocks up on the cliffs on our mountain. And it sticks to my brain. I just am so affected by it. And I think that has been somewhat of the fuel for learning, because you need that excitement to learn. You got to have excitement in order to learn something. It's just very hard to retain what's not interesting. So, you know, to learn lots of stuff, I say fall in love with it. Now I'm going to put more red. I like the red. So let's take our bright, this is probably a little bit brighter red than what I have on there. So we'll go like this. Everywhere I have that purple, that's going to start moving into red. And we'll put some red under these. Look, right in this shadow. Like that. Right through here in this one too. It goes to the purple. Put some red here. Let's make some red coming down off this. Maybe going up through this shadow. So maybe the story is that there's a relationship here. The dragon relies on the fairies, you know, to make them feel happier. Something like that. Something of that sort. Okay, now I'm going to use orange for this bright spot. For the bright highlight, where I was using white. Orange is a bright enough color that I can use that right in the middle of where I put this red. I can put it here where the yellow is too. It'll probably look a little bit more like a fiery glow if I use the orange. Going in there. Let's put orange in there, right here, a little bit right here. Like this. It might be cool to put some orange coming right up into this, into these purple spots too. All right, so, you know, all I'm doing in the end is just trying to mimic what light would do, not what paint would do, in order to achieve this effect that I'm after of the fire inside. The fire inside this dragon. I'm going to put red right here. Let's put a real big one, because I think by the eyes is a great spot for this fire. Let's put that right through there. And then we'll put orange, bright orange right through here. Right in the middle. So we've got that effect of it, of the more overexposed area being that lighter color. And then I can even put white here. Let's see what happens if why put white when I can put bright yellow? Let's do that. Now that's what I'm missing. I don't think I have any yellow. Oh, look, I do. Look here, hiding behind the water bucket. We've got yellow. Let's see how this compares. I'm going to put that on there to really enhance these brightest spots where the red is. like this. Nice bright color in here. Little tiny dots of it. Look, we've got some in the mouth. I want to get lots of light in there too. Let's really make that bright. And then that light goes up through here. And I feel like the more I'm careful to go from red to orange to yellow, the more, the better it looks. The more I have that gradient. It does seem to make a difference. The gradual change, looks a lot more like a glow if I have it gradually changing instead of just a sudden change. But it's hard on tiny little details. It's hard to get that effect. Okay, so that's a pretty fun concept. I might want to call it good for now and move on because I've got other stuff that I need to complete on this picture. I'm looking sideways at the computer screen, looking at it small. It's kind of fun to see it taking shape. I'm going to put some darker color. You know what else will really enhance the glow effect? Watch this. Darker color in between. Let's do this. Gray right here. I'm going to make this gray come right across this nose. Here's some white on top of my black. And whatever color I have in there, I have some red too. But if I make it darker, this is where I have to strategically choose how dark and how light everything is in a picture, is what kind of light do I need to have visible in it. And the darker I make my shadows, of course, the brighter the light looks, because I can always shine a brighter light on the painting when it's done. And that'll make those colors really pop out. But I can't go darker and darker. That's a harder thing. You can't shine a darkness on the paint to get those things. So without making the painting disappear. So let's put some darker color in here. I'm putting some red like this, getting some color around these spots like that. Let's put a little bit in there. In here. Now we've got some more color down here on this big fang. So it just gives me some more contrast. That's all I'm doing. Just boosting the contrast by putting that darker color in. I thought it would look good to have this highlight coming down too. I like this highlight on the cheekbone. That's a good bone structure. And so to put that coming down through here, I think will improve the form of the dragon. Let's bring it right down through here. There we go. Maybe a little bit across here. Color complexity, that's what's being developed at the moment. I'm just taking the color scheme and adding little bits as my imagination starts to run with it. If I like the way a highlight looks, but I don't want to do this forever. I've already gone too far. I just got all wrapped up in it, This will look more like a highlight too if I darken that. Here, we'll do this last thing. And then we got to improve the background. Oh yeah, we've got skin tone to do. Maybe I can just real quick wrap that up. I really got carried away with this light effect. I think I burned up all of the time on this. So, sorry. Let's put this here. I'm putting darker color in here. And again, I'm just doing this because I want to see contrast. So that just gives me a little bit better glow where I darken those colors. Okay, now, enough of that. Enough of that. I can always add more details. It's a wild look. Who knows what's going on there? Let's put a little bit of a glowing outline on the arm. Wouldn't that be cool? Let's do this. Let's take that blue And maybe if we get just the right shade of blue, we can go around this arm like this. Like this, and then come across the top. Maybe right here, let's go a little bit less as it comes this way. Maybe it's brighter as it goes toward the hand, you know? There we go, that's fun. Now it looks like the light's more coming out of the... Here, let's put glowing. Let's do this. Let's put little. Remember the power of lines I was talking about? Okay, so if we do this, like it's just an outline. At the moment, it's just an outline. But once I do this, it kind of forces the perspective on the shape. I'll curve lines around this arm like this. I'm going to go flatter, more scrunched together on the edge, on the under edge of the arm, like that. So now it's kind of going around. Let's go across the hand and then down. We can get all this shape added. Let's go in these shadows. My hand is shaky. Do you see that? Trying to just put this wherever I can without completely losing all those details I worked on with the hand. But I just thought it'd be fun to see this outline on the hand. Like that. It's fun, you know, seeing what imagery and shapes can lead to the imagination of a story, even though I have no idea what that story would be. All right, so now let's put the skin tone on this fairy. We need more skin tone, so let's zoom in right here and go here next, like this. And this is where we're going to address that issue of perspective. So we need to make this fairy have more believable, relatable positioning in here. So this leg I want to come out this way. If I can get this body to bump out this way, then I'll fix the problem of the low knee, because in that perspective the knee should be lower. And so if she were naked, you know, I would see the bottom of the butt under here. I would see the leg coming across. I would see this knee lower, this one higher. So I got to think about that positioning and try to get this. My goal is to tip the body this way. I'm going to see if there's anything happening on the live chat real quick. Let's cut so that you're not staring at my ear. I got to still work on the smoothness of that transition, huh? Electric blue. All right, thanks. What a story it is now. Yeah, all you need is just to make it look like something's happening. Make it look like it's about. So you don't have to tell the story. Just make a story exist. Keeping him calm while her pals nick his gold. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good story. Yes. Blue lights on the arm. Very creative. Hey, thanks a lot, Mary. Maybe the blue glow is coming from the fairy as a gift of friendship. All right, cool. Like that idea. That's fun. Just paint an earring on your ear, Joe. Paint on my ear? Really? I could do that. Wouldn't that be funny? It would look good from one angle, but then when I turned, it would be like, hey, that's painted. Learning so much, says Val. All right, good. I love to hear that. One of my favorite things to hear from people is that something I said was useful. Really, this is where I get a sense of excitement from life. So I feel like I had something genuinely helpful to offer. It's very hard for me to be motivated otherwise at just the production of a nice painting. Love her wings. All right, good. I'm glad you liked it.
I gotta make those look a little more refined. They're pretty messy, but I'm gonna stick with that wing style, that setup. Don't worry about your ear. It is a good ear. Yeah. Well, on the fairies, I don't know. I hear your ear. I don't know if you're talking about my ears or if you're talking about the fairies' ear, but I do need to work on the fairies' ear because we don't have the shadows to make it go deep. So I got to use color, dark color, to get the shadows in the ear. But that'll be just a couple little touches as I'm refining the position of the body. Thought process of human anatomy when painting. Yeah, I can. I'm going to do that right now. So my thought process is a parts list. I'm going down a parts list in order to accomplish the form of the person. And so I have to put all the parts in. I'm conscious of all the parts that I want to see. And it's self-correcting because of that. It's a self-correcting system because of just memorizing and knowing very quickly this elbow needs to come down to this skinny spot because this is the way a person is set up for walking and running. It's easy for me to remember that. I've got armpit to waist to hip. I center everything around this. And so I build a person from the middle. And I've got the length of the elbow, I've got the length of the forearm, and I just have all of these relationships memorized. And then I got to plug them all in and put them in perspective, which comes from after learning the parts, going to pictures, going to whatever models you want to draw from, and looking for the parts. Because then when you draw some strange curve or new bump that you haven't seen on a body, you can identify, oh, that's what this part looks like from that angle, and it stays in your memory. So this is why I think a parts list is so valuable, has been so helpful to me. So what I need to do is tip this body over a bit. So I've got a lot of shadow. See this shadow? What that dark shadow in relation to this bright highlight says is that this is going up and down, this is coming out. I want the whole thing to come out. So I can probably adjust a lot of this just by adding a different light and shadow to this. So along the ribs, I'm going to put a little more orange so that we've got a little bit more color, a little more light showing as her body is tipping away from me toward the head there. So let's try some orange right here. Maybe we'll add a little bit. We don't want it to be too bright because that's going to compete with other bright orange things in the painting. So we got to make it like a light brown color. And I don't want it to be just like her skin tone either. So I gotta watch the tiny differences. I'm going to take white and put it here and make this brighter as well on the hip so that comes more forward. And hopefully this whole thing, as it gets brighter, I'm going to try to maybe curve some of these lines. So remember how I can sort of force perspective with lines. So texture that's curved. Man, we are sensitive to texture. Our eyes are sensitive to texture. So if we use brush strokes that are along a curved perspective affected surface, just like I did the neck, if I curve this way, these lines curve this way a little bit, then I feel like I can push that upper body back a little. Now I'm creating a brown, orange, black, little bit of red, and I'm going to put a curve on this line as well, right here coming over the breast. Curve that. See that slight curve I put on it? Like that. So now we're getting curve, 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 curve. All these are getting more curved as they go this way. And I'll just barely slope that line up a little higher on this side as I'm trying to tip the body that way. Like this, go down behind the back, put a few more curves on there. Now I need my highlight color.
because I want to bring that all the way to the edge where I just now put that little bit of clothing on the breast. I want to put this highlight all the way up here to bring this all together. There. Okay. So I feel like I've got a little bit better perspective now on that body with those curves. And now I need to do the skin tone. So let me think about this. Actually, I'm going to put a little bit more highlight. Let's get red, orange, get a light brown. I want to put this a little more forward, this hip, like this. Maybe in perspective, the shapes, as they scrunch this, maybe I'd see a little more kind of zigzagging side to side. So I'm going to try to increase these angles right here where it turns on the curves of the body a little. So bringing this forward and then maybe making a more extreme difference. Just a theory, I'm just trying it out, a minor difference. Human form is very much about those tiny differences. It's the sum total of many very small curves and turns that creates the feel that we want for human form. That creates the difference between something we like, something we don't, something that looks natural, something that doesn't. It's all a combination of many small things. There, now I'm just trying to zigzag the shape a little bit in order to hopefully achieve a little more of a scrunchy perspective. Like that, where I can slope this body a little more forward. Okay, so let's do a line right here. And I'm gonna put, I don't need that black hair coming down between the wing and the body anymore, so let's put orange and red and do more skin tone in here. Right here, let's put more red as we need to go into a shadow like this. And then we'll grab a tiny bit of black, put it in that armpit, and put it down here on the back. Hopefully I'll still have a good amount of color left. That black is so strong. Look, I blend it in, it just takes over. Black hits everything. I got to put more color in there now. Let's put red and orange. Color first, lightness, darkness second. That's my workflow. Okay, now I need orange to go right here, anywhere I'm going to get lighter, I want to see that orange. Okay, so we've got orange in there, and I'm going to put a little bit here, coming down the side where it's getting a little lighter, coming out from under the armpit, the sides of the rib cage would be here. Now I'm going to grab some white and go right here across the ribs, going up to the armpit, back of the shoulder. The back of the shoulder needs to stay a little bit darker than this up here, so I'll blend down, get a little darker as it goes down. And then we've got muscles that kind of go diagonally back. I might have to adjust now the color of the clothing compared to the body because it's kind of the same. And I want it to stand apart. All right, to tip this back more, I need a little bit more highlight on that body, just a little bit. So this is where I feel like it gets into a really touchy balance right here. Definitely not the easiest process I ever did. We're going to put a little more highlight right here on the shoulder, a little bit more here on the side. And let's put a tiny bit more white. We want shadow there, but the lighter I make it, the more it's going to feel like maybe it's tipping upward a bit. So we'll get a tiny bit lighter. Right here. I got to work quick too, You lose the blendability of the paint pretty fast. Okay, now I've got a good shadow in here. I want to just maybe adjust that and try to blend that shadow a little more. I'm starting to get there, starting to get where I want to be with that form. Let's see if I can get just the right color to adjust this shadow and try to make it look like it very quickly. You know, an armpit shadow is a tricky thing because it's really got to blend softly into these colors. But this paint is giving me an easier time than the stuff out of the can would. I just added a little water and it's blending pretty good, pretty easily. Let's bring this up a little bit higher, not quite as much of a slope to that armpit. And then we've got to have a shadow going back just a little bit for the muscle on the shoulder, coming back across the shoulder blade like this. And then maybe I can put the tiniest bit of a darkest shadow. I'm trying to just be real exact on the direction that these little gradients go. I've got a gradient going into this shadow that really affects the shape of the arm. So my darkest shadow needs to go right here. And the faster I make that fade into a color rather than gray, the less it looks like armpit hair, the more it looks like a shadow on the skin. Uh-oh, my battery's running low. I forgot to plug in the computer. We might crash. If it does crash, then I'm going to come back because the stream is still going. Let me just grab the plug for my computer. Okay, plugging it in, plugging it in. All right, I think we're back. Sorry, here, let me flip over, see if we've got the stream going. YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming as such. Okay, let's see if we can get it going again. Hang on, I'll go back and switch to the other camera for a moment. Okay, let's refresh it. Let's refresh the page. All right, I don't actually know if you're seeing me. If you are, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I forgot to plug in the computer. This seems to be the theme of my videos, is technical difficulties. Oh no, I think it might have lost the stream now. 74 viewers. Oh, we lost viewers. Oh man. Let's make sure we get the... Are we streaming from here? Yeah, we're streaming. Okay. Stream. All right, let's see if we've got a signal.
Joe's shirt is inside out. Says Mary, I thought he was seeing things. I was seeing things. Buffering real bad on my end. Furs his shirt that way. I do. Man, it did this before. As such, viewers will experience buffering. Man. Okay. Can hear but not see.